ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Dexterity Watch post show, even though there wasn't a Dexterity Watch today, but we will still call it a post show because it is the post show for Norwich City versus Sheffield Wednesday. And that one was an interesting 7 minutes in the second half there. So, as tradition now dictates, even though I haven't just been talking for 2 hours, we are still going to hand over to Punk to give his verdict on what he's just seen.
This was a weird game for me. I thought we outplayed Norwich for long periods of that, and we were defensively strong. First half, best first half I've seen us had in a long time. We looked strong. To be fair, we looked good in terms of how we defended. I thought in that sense we were really good and solid and looked organised. The only thing we don't have is going forward. There's no pace. There's nothing. So you go forward and you boot that ball long to Windass. He's not a pacey striker. So it's going to stay there until someone gets up to him.
Did you just say Windass wasn't pacey? Right, we're putting a pin in that one.
No,
carry on.
In this game today, when he's had no one at the side.
Just carry on. We'll talk about Windass later. Talk about the rest of the game.
I didn't see him as a pacey striker much today. That's my opinion. But overall, I thought we did okay. And we get that goal and you see a lift in the players and you're thinking, right, we can go on and do this. And then we started to set up really defensively early. Like he'd gone to park the bus extremely early. And then for me, you shouldn't be bringing Windass off. Should put Brown on or someone like that can have that creativity. And I thought Iorfa had a great game today playing as a defensive midfielder. But you could see that's not his natural position at times. But once again, it's another case of we have 2 penalties, not given. And then Leeds makes a bit of a hash of the defending for the first goal. And I'm pretty sure their second goal was offside. And then we lose it 2-1. And it's like, where do we pick up points now? We're now bottom. Derby won today. Forest lost. Wickham got a draw. And it's going to be really interesting how we get out of it now. But
it's December 5th, though. Right. So, thank you very much, Punk. It's an interesting one because your take there is very different to my take, even though we're both probably equally as angry, right? First half for me, I thought it was a 50-50. I don't think we were on top. I think it was a 50-50 sort of like we were controlling parts of it, but for me it was a nothing half. It was a half where we looked solid and we didn't look like we were going to concede. It's the second half for me where we came out. You know, when we started the first half, don't get me wrong, we came out firing, and then it kind of just went to a case of a 50-50 match. With nothing really in it. But the second half for me is where everything happened. And obviously that's when we first scored our goal. And it's also a case of the one thing that we are definitely going to find common ground on is the substitutions. I tweeted it out. Follow me at Dexterity Box if you don't. If we're never Dexterity watching, I'm always live tweeting about the matches. But I said that the subs were weird. I was saying out loud to the television that why are we making these substitutions? Because I understand, yes, closing a game down, but there was nowhere near the sort of confidence in that side that we had won that at that point for me. So I was like, so what happens if we concede and we have to fire? And then we did concede within the space of like 4 minutes, 2 goals, you know, and I do kind of agree. I need to watch it back fully, but on first glance and second glance, it looked like that second goal could have been slightly offside, you know, so it was one of those where there was a lot of decisions that went Norwich's way today, which is unfortunate. We will get into other things in a little while, but definitely for me, he kind of set the ground for another. We've probably had about 4 or 5 of these now. Awful refereeing performance.
Is injured.
Oh, for God's sake!
He got a thigh injury.
Is it just a tight thigh?
It looked like he just said Josh went off with a thigh injury.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Okay. We'll talk about that a little later on then when we talk about Windass, because I do want to talk about Windass in a bit more depth later. But we've definitely got a case of Norwich weren't that great today. Norwich are a good side in general, but I think
having their fans there helped them a lot.
Yeah, I don't understand this. I don't understand why we're allowing one set of fans in, because
they're in tier 2,
and especially because a load of people are in tier 3. But even if they weren't in a lower tier. We couldn't, if we were in a lower tier too, we couldn't take away fans there. So surely there is some sort, if you talk about crowds giving an advantage, they definitely do that. So it is one of those things where you end up with the advantage for teams. And you don't always think, what do you think about that? About certain fans being allowed in while other fans can't?
I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right at all, because you're giving an unfair advantage. Like, the fans make a big difference to games. And if you're going, so there was a one today with Blackpool Fleetwood, which is a bit of a derby there. No fan can go to that. But say if they weren't as close as they were, and say you've got like a big derby, but those derby where they're not close, but it's one of those ones where there's always been a derby between them. And you'll then have the away fans in, or the home fans in, but no away fans. I think the way it's worked, I understand why they're doing it. They want to try and get clubs the money in and stuff, but at the same time, it seems unfair.
For me, I kind of sit on the fence. I've said this all the time. I said I sit on you let them all in, or you let both sides in, or you don't let any in. Because I wouldn't mind if it was 2,000 of each fan base.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, even an advantage. Do it sort of like a quarter. So if you're allowed 2,000 Norwich fans in, you allow 500 Wednesday fans in. If it's the away team, the away team can bring a quarter of whatever. Yeah. I don't know. It's just something so it doesn't seem like there's an unfair advantage. Because the one thing I will say about Wednesday fans is we are loud whenever we're on the road. And it's kind of notorious with a lot of Yorkshire clubs as well. There's a lot of loud fans in Yorkshire, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's something that we definitely miss out on. And being tier 3 across most of the north, it is definitely an issue. And
to be fair, there were 3 Wednesday fans there. There's one lad I follow on Instagram who was actually in the stadium. I don't know how he managed that, but he managed to sit with the Norwich fans. And the 2 lads who bought the hotel room across.
Yeah, I love that. I saw that. And works up Owl's flag. That was quite.
We're probably going to get some for it, but fair play for finding an advantage and playing against it.
Yeah, we didn't really get an advantage though, because the thing is, you had Norwich fans in there. It was only one set of chance. All of that. I won't moan about that, because people will say, "Oh, you're crying about the fans and all that." Piss off. But like with the general sort of match today, it was a 50-50 match up until. That for me, the game really changed when we made those changes.
Yeah,
Iorfa looked fit, and I understand saving him, but I want to talk about Iorfa now and him playing as that central defensive midfielder, because for me, he fits that role really well, and I was enjoying watching him play that. And I think when he finds his stride, obviously he's come back from injury. I understand the precautions bringing him off.
Yeah,
I think he was doing a good job today. I think that. I actually felt comfortable. And you said it didn't look like we were going to concede in the first half. Oh. I was like, usually Iorfa's our last line of defense. But because we were defending from the midfield and he was breaking up play and coming out with it, I actually felt so much safer with a back 3 behind Iorfa. I was like, we've got our best defensive player that's not even part of our back 3.
Had a fantastic game today. He was superb. He really did play well. And it seems like if you put Borna in that position, like Iorfa had like that defensive midfield, a little bit of a creative play, like going forward, he played really well. He didn't look out of phase there. There was a little bit in the first half where you could see he was trying to get used to it and kept on going back. But then he went for it. And it was a weird one with Iorfa, because you got him going forward. And then as you got him going forward, it would take a while for him to like realize, oh, I'm a bit too far forward. But he played really well, holding it and getting that ball. And it's a position I wanted him to have for a very, very long time. But we never had that kind of gut to go with it. And it's an interesting one with him having that position. I hope he can stay in that position personally, because he suited it down to a ground. He really did suit it really well. So it's a strange one, that one. I hope he can stay in that position, but it'll be interesting to see what Tony Pulis does next with him.
That's true, and I apologise if you're watching this on the post show because Punk's head will have just been cut off with some graphics there because we do cut these off after they're live. We do re-import them, but I just had to. I'm in a different setup today, as you can see. I've had to use a different room, so I'm having to reach over to highlight comments. So I didn't want it to be too obvious while Punk was talking there. But yeah, I want to see more from that. We will move on to Windass here though, and True Blue says, "I want to nick Windass off you." Windass. It's just Lord's been saying Windass all day. I've got it in bed now.
I like Windass. I really do. And I just thought in this game today, we needed someone with a little bit more pace. Maybe
I think he's pacey. What are you watching?
He's pacey, but I think in today's game, which he was having to play the lone striker. I think he's better if he got someone at the side of him to let him bomb on.
I honestly, today, for me, and I saw it a little bit early on, the goal came from Windass's pace and reach is absolutely amazing. That ball is one of the best, the best ball I've seen Wednesday play all season. Like,
did you notice how today we put the balls in early as well?
Yeah, no, it was Reach's left foot, that cross, our goal was absolutely awesome. Windass is fast. And I disagree about the pace thing on Windass there. What I think is we need more options with pace, okay? Because Windass is our only pace option. So if Windass isn't having a great day, we're kind of out of ideas in terms of pace. Because if he's not on it one day, then no, we don't have a pace option. But Windass is pacey, and it showed today with the way he was breaking through. And I think especially with the way Bannon plays through balls and Reach can whack it round with the crosses like that, I think Windass's pace will come to our rescue. But yeah, I also want to move on to. You see, I think we'll have different opinions.
With you, so there we go.
No, that's fair enough. Well, no, I like this because we agree too much. Yeah. We need to have disagreements sometimes. And this is where we're going to bring it on to Harris. Samuel Foot asks, and we are actually coming on to Harris because I wanted to speak about Harris. And I want your opinions first because I think ours might differ here slightly. Again, how did you feel Harris did today?
Did okay. Did a lot of the donkey work we needed him to do. Dropping that shoulder when he does, but sometimes he can be a little bit selfish, where if he looks up, he could actually find somebody in the box for it. But I thought today when he got told he was made to play up front on his own, he really did well. He tried to do what you need to do, but he's not a forward.
I see. That's interesting because I thought you were going to be a really, really he was awesome because I saw a lot of people saying how good Harris was today. And for me, yes, he beats the man. He does the little bit of a trick. But for me, when we countered, when I saw Harris on it, and it might be because the support's not arriving in time, but for me, when Harris was leading the charge on a counter-attack, he slowed everything down. Instead of being his self where he'd run and he'd do something on his own, he was waiting for the support. So it was like Harris breaks out and then he pulls it back. And I'm like, what are you doing? Because when we're on the counter attack, he just did nothing. He pulled it back and tried to make something happen. And I understand Paulis has probably said, look, you can use your pace, beat the man, and then bring other players into it. But because of that, it felt like whenever we got a counter and I was like, go on, exploit the space, it was like, oh no, we're going to slow it down now, wait for the pass. And by then, 5 Norwich players are back.
He got the speed to get past the player. So that's what I didn't get. And I think that's him being so used to being a winger and waiting for people to get in the box to get that ball in. And I think if you actually used him as an actual striker and he actually went for it, he would be really good. But
he actually looked a lot better to me when he was a forward at the end of the match. I was like, oh, okay, this is all right. Maybe playing as a forward.
2 penalty shouts we had.
Oh, we'll get onto that. Just before we do that, thank you, Kieran Green, for the £2 super chat. I don't know what's on my mind. He says, here's 2 quid for a penalty striker. Thank you very much. And I can't even get back to the chat to unhighlight that. But yes, the 2 penalty shouts. The second one wasn't. I said on Twitter that it probably was when I watched it first time, but then I watched the other angle and no, it was a good challenge. The first one, I've not really seen it back enough. I've only watched it back once, and it does look like I think there's enough contact there. He gets the wrong side of his man. I reckon there's a little. Given the fact that Moses Adebayo got a yellow card for getting the ball in the first half, and we brought Pookie down when we actually got the ball in the second half and gave them a free kick on the edge of the box. If those 2 are fouls, that's a penalty in my opinion. And that's where the game turned for us, I think. Those 2 decisions after the subs and those 2 decisions in that quick space of time, it killed us.
Yeah.
I think it was like, we are not getting anything from this ref. And it was pretty evident all the way through that was the situation. Don't get me wrong, right? I am not crying about the result. I expected to lose today. It's the manner in what we lost and the fact that it didn't really feel like we should have lost.
I thought if we came back with a point, it would have been a very good game for us. I was expecting if we got a draw at the end of that, I would have been fantastically happy. But that whole situation that we'd had to get the lead, and then when we got the lead, it's like Pulis doesn't like the attacking threats he got on the bench, even though we know what Brown can do. Like Kachunga could have been a good replacement for Windass, just for the feed aspect, trying to see if Harrison could go on. I thought him playing, I've seen a lot of people criticize Patterson today on Twitter, and I thought Patterson had a very good game, to be honest.
I think Patterson's getting better, to be honest. I don't think he was as good as he was last match, but if we talk about Reading as well, like we'll quickly go over Reading. Reading's performance was a case of that red card changed everything. I thought we were actually, and yes, they were really unfortunate in the second half with some shocking referee decisions again, because I am not just the person that's going to slag off the referee when it's a Wednesday-based thing. It's also going to be the fact that it shouldn't have been.
I said in the video they had 2 clear-cut penalties they should have been given, and they weren't giving them.
No, it's one of those where we shouldn't have had the red card in that match, and they should. I disagree that they were both penalties. I think it was the handball was the penalty for me, because the Adebayo one is sort of a 50-50. If you look on paper, yes, it's technically 2 penalties, but it was soft for me, that last one. But I am a person who's like, it is a contact sport. So, but yeah, I am saying generally the officiating has not been good enough in a lot of the matches. There's been at least 5 matches where, and probably 2 of them I've said that it's been equally atrocious for both sides, but we've got a brunt of the decisions this season. And I've seen other fans saying it. Swansea really hate the referees and the officials in this season. They're saying a lot of that at the minute. Just thank you to Cheflad22. Just bring that up. I expected the loss, but we didn't deserve it. We're all Wednesday, aren't we? I think me and Punk are feeling that at the minute. However, I also want to say, because often opposition fans come on this to try and rub it in and do all that, and I'm like, I couldn't care less, lads. But I just do want to say, like, I know how good a side Norwich are, and on paper, especially with Pookie, who was on fire in the Prem at the start of last season, I was like, we are in trouble today, right?
Yeah, I thought we were.
Okay. I thought we were in, and the fact that Wednesday did that well, the reason I'm sounding a little bit salty is because it ended up being a case of, yes, they had a lot of possession in the first half and stuff, but the second half, when we came out and got the goal, we didn't give Norwich a sniff until they had 2 goals in the space of like 4 minutes after we'd had 2 penalty shouts counted down. And yes, the second one wasn't, but.
And it's the weird thing with Wednesday. It's the ye old kind of thing. We are that kind of team that can have really great games and play well and then lose, or we can be absolutely rubbish and win. And we haven't really had that this season. This season has been such a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's been a mismatch. Everything that's gone wrong gone wrong with decisions, with injuries, with the EFL, everything. It's all stacked against us. And it does seem, he's right, Chef Lad 20, it does seem like we are whipping boy for the EFL. But the thing is, we also need to take that stigma off ourselves. And I think some of the players have that a little bit, like going that they know that their target. Like Pulis this week said, players will get fines for the lack of discipline now. So they're going to feel it. And I think much of people have said that's harsh on Shaw. He's right in what he said. In this day and age, you can't be taking those tackles. But at the same time, if they feel it in the pocket, they might cut it out a lot more.
You've also got to look at the other side of that, though, is you lose your edge. And to be honest, five red cards is atrocious, right? And I'm appalled with the level of red cards we've been getting. But it's a case of, you take that out of certain players' games and they just lose all their edge. There's sometimes a tactical fouls needed, things like that. But yeah, something needs to be done about that. But also a case of a couple of our red cards, for me, a year ago weren't red cards.
No, they weren't.
And I know the game's changing and things like that, but there's no real sort of clear. I said it on Twitter, and this is controversial in itself, but people are moaning in the Prem when the VAR decisions go against them and they want it scrapped. But for us this season, I feel like if VAR was in this league, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in now. I reckon we'd have picked up at least another 9 points.
Yeah.
Because there's clear things that you watch on replays and you're like, are you serious? You know, and even all the fans say, and after the fact, and we'd have been picked up on these things, but it does go both ways. Maybe if it'd be our season where if VAR came in, that's the season where we get a load of offside goals given. Do you know what I mean? That'd be the luck of Wednesday.
I just want to see that comment from James that just posted.
Yeah, I will actually bring that up. So James Dunthorne, Norwich City fan here. Well played, boys. We were terrible today, and on balance, you were unlucky. We played properly for 10 minutes, and luckily that was enough for today. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, mate. I do appreciate it when opposition fans come in and give that side of it, because it did feel very much like that to me, because as I said, I've respected Norwich City a lot for the side they are. But today I felt like we more than matched them. And that's why I was so frustrated at the final whistle of defensive subs, weird decisions, and then you lose it. We could at least a point from that, you know.
Yeah. Did you see at the end of the game with Harris and Windass at the referee, and how some of the coaching staff were trying to pull them away? Windass and Harris were really getting in the referee face, and fair play to our coaching staff to push in. Especially
you can get red cards after the match now. You can't mess about with stuff like that.
Windass got pushed away by Tom Lees, having to say, cut it, leave it. It's done. Let's move on, walk away. And I think our coaching staff, I think we know what we need to do. We know what this team needs. It needs a goal scorer. Definitely. I think I showed you about a player earlier on Facebook called Sydney Van Hooijdonk.
Let's talk about that a bit, because I did say we could take some time for that. People were asking about the thing players.
As much as I like the idea of the kid, he's 20 years old. He's scored 8 goals already this season in 12 appearances. The
reason we're talking about this is because we're linked with him, by the way, guys. We're not just randomly plucking players out the air.
Yeah. The only reason why I don't think this will happen is, shut up, you. The only reason I do not think this will happen is because we have to now do it on a point basis on the kind of work permit and immigration thing. Because come 1st of January, we have a completely new set of rules that we have to do. Like on the whole situation, if we were to sign Julian Berner now, in January the 1st, we wouldn't be able to sign him. That's what the situation is. And I think you're going to look at a lot of clubs trying to go after some of the players in other countries and struggle to get work permit for them. I've seen people say we should go have a look in some of the Portuguese leagues. There's a lot of criteria they've got to meet, and a lot won't meet it. And I think it's going to be interesting what we do next.
Yeah, no, fair. No, definitely. Well, I want to look into that a little bit more, mate, because I'm not educated on the new rules coming in with the January changes, things like that.
Nice
also, I am pulling up a few. Yeah, I'll be looking at videos as well. I need to fill out the Christmas period when we're not live anyway. So it's one of those. I will pull up comments as well, guys, as we're talking. People can disagree with me on things as well, and I don't mind showing opposition views.
Thing is, we've had it in this show already that we both had. It is nice for us to not agree on something, kind of thing.
No, it is, because otherwise it's just like boring. But yeah, let's talk about. Actually, one thing I do want to pull out. I will talk about this a little bit more actually when we do that video on the changes. He says, good news for homegrown talent. It's not. Nope. Because here's the thing, you're going to get bang average English players going for an absolute fortune. We'll talk a little bit more about that later and how the rules are actually going to change that, because you're not going to.
That could help for us if his Hunt goes on to be really good.
Yeah, it is honestly a situation where like you are going to get absolutely ridiculous transfers for young English players now, and that's the issue. Let's look forward, as we always try and do towards the end of these post shows, and we've got Huddersfield next, who won today. Barnsley next. I don't know what they did today, but I think they lost.
They lost 4-0 on Friday.
Was it 4-0? Oh, 4-0 Friday, right? And Forest. Right, if we cannot pull something out of our arse in these next 3 matches, we're down.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, if we're Tony Pooley's side cannot get us results at Huddersfield, Barnsley and Forest, it is very much like that run where we had, who was it? Luton, Rotherham and Wickham in the same week, and Monk crapped the bed, right? Yeah. It's very much a similar week like that. However, Huddersfield is starting to be a bit more hit and miss now. Barnsley and Forest are not doing well this season.
Well, Forest are interesting anyway. They've got so much off the field drama now going on.
Yeah, I really respect Forest, by the way. And as a football fan, I'm quite saddened to see the situation they're in. Yeah. However, as a Wednesday fan, I'm like, go for the throat. We need to now.
It's. I think Huddersfield game, it'll be just our luck. I feel like the Huddersfield game might turn into like the Bournemouth game, where we get a win, and then we're like, right, we're on a high, and we'll go play Barnsley. It's like, oh, hang on.
I don't know. Honestly, if we've not got if Windass is not injured, the annoying thing is now Adebayo's picked up his 5th yellow card today, so he's suspended. If Windass's injury is a thing, for me, we need Windass up top. Windass or Kachunga. I want to see more of Kachunga, but we need someone
to change games. Windass is. I love that we signed Windass, and I do like how he plays. I think he would need somebody else up there with him.
For me, Tony Pulis got the starting lineup right today.
Yes.
The starting lineup was correct. Wild Smith has been solid. For me, he's our number 1 at the minute. I want to see Westwood come. I'd love to see a proper fight between him and Westwood for that number 1. Nice, it would be great. We definitely need to see the situation, because after Forest also we've got Coventry, so it's 4 fixtures where you'd expect at the start of the season Sheffield Wednesday, the team on paper, could get wins. The Championship isn't like that though, and it's not been like that, especially this season. So it is definitely going to be difficult for us.
I think it's that stupid thing. It's the ye old cliche of where you are at Christmas is normally where you finish, and at the moment we're bottom.
Not for Sheffield Wednesday though, because we have always look at us last season. If we'd have finished at Christmas where we were, we'd have been in the playoffs. Yeah.
But the thing is, we do not have a good Christmas period ever. From January to February, we're always very poor, and that's something Pulis needs to kick into touch straight away. I still got a lot of faith in Pulis. I've seen a lot of people always saying he needs to go. Early doors, he's even said himself, it's a tough challenge, and I think it's tougher than he first thought. But Tony Pulis is the kind of bloke who's want to show he can still do something, and also have that whole thing of go, I want to get this to work, because things are already starting to look good. If we had anybody that was scoring right now, with how we're looking defensively solid, and we had a scoring, we'd be perfect, because he can do that. But we're not scoring. That's the thing.
No, well, that's what the thing with Paul is, right? Is I can see he's trying to fill the gaps, and he's trying to fill the holes in this squad that needs. We looked hungry today, and we looked like. The annoying thing is I've not really been able to get a good judge of what Pulis wants to do with us so far, because we've had stupid red cards in 2 of his matches, right? We've not been able to see the way he played. Today, we played up until that bloody 83rd minute. I was happy with us, and I was like, if this is what we're going to get, especially against a side as good as Norwich are, right? I was like, okay, I'm down for this. But I do think we aren't going to be in for the Christmas period you're expecting, mate. I think if we keep players fit, I want to see the situations. I want to see why we made the subs we do. If he doesn't make, because for me, they were people used to give Gary Monk stick for making stupid substitutions. They were the most stupid substitutions I've seen. So I want to see, was there an injury? Was he all for a precaution? Because that's what I can see, sort of thing. But like, for me, those substitutions changed the game. And why the hell are you bringing on Izzy Brown and who else did you bring on? Kachunga in the last 4 minutes.
Yeah. They can't do anything. And
no, exactly.
To be fair to Brown, he came on and he really was up for it. I don't know how
he was getting in the right positions, but he wasn't sharp because he's not sharp match. So his first touch wasn't there and his composure wasn't there. You need to give him at least sort of like 20 minutes to bed in. So we'll have to see.
I'm worried he's going to get recalled in January by Chelsea.
Yeah, well,
over game time kind of thing.
We'll have to see, because he is happy here, and the player does have a say in that. Because Chelsea, because I'll be honest, mate, I wouldn't see that happening. Chelsea won't recall him for his progress because Chelsea don't give a crap.
That's true.
They've showed that in the past. They if they gave a crap, he'd have signed a new contract before he came on loan.
I think he did.
Did he?
Oh, I'm sure he signed a new contract before he came out on loan. Hang on, let me check.
I'm not 100% sure he did, but we'll have to. We'll have to see about that one. And we will, okay, you can have a look about that one while I have a look at the comments. Tom says, Pulis did say he was going to look for a striker in January, by the way. Yep, I know we've had the Balassi links, we've had the Musa links. So he definitely knows he needs some sort of pace and finesse up front. Definitely there. Let's see what else is being said. We're stuck with Pulis no matter what. Callum says, just no creativity and lifeless defending. We may be solid, but we're lacking in momentum to score. I disagree with that. I think Aorfa was the link from the defense to the front today. He was definitely a ball-winning midfielder and a ball-playing midfielder. He was so good. He was box to box in the right way. I was right on that one. Yep. Oh, it's not always I'm right. It's nice to be right sometimes. So, yeah, Izzy Brown's contract is up at the end of the season, so I don't think he's going to get recalled, mate. I don't think they give a crap. So we will see. We will see what happens on that one. But, guys, I'll let you know on my community tab. So if you are new to the channel, subscribe when the next Dexterity Watch is going to be. Apologies there wasn't one today, but we thought we'd come with the post show. I calmed down a little bit. 5:15 is a good time because I was raging at the end of that. But Norwich scraped by with it. They'll be very happy with their result. I think there'll be a definite segment of their fan base that think they obviously deserve that, and I can see why. They were two good goals. But I also think that we were very hard done by on that one. And I just hope we can build on it and not make defensive substitutions on 65 minutes, for Christ's sake, Tony.
And it's also that stupid thing where you got the whole situation with the injuries again. And it's these muscle injuries that he spoke about when he first came in that we keep getting. And if it's a thigh injury, it's a muscle injury. So it's like, what's he done that? How's he done that? So I think you're going to see a lot of interesting stuff in his press conference over the next couple of weeks. What he says, who he says. Watch his press conferences very closely and watch them again and watch what he says, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think you'll find a lot out what he says in his press conference than what you'll see in the game. In a sense, you know, like licking those little words that what he chooses to say. One of the big one for me was that he said that Chansiri spent about 350 million so far. Now, last time I checked, he was valued at 400 million.
It'd be interesting with Pulis because I don't want to talk about Pulis much more today because I can't make my mind up on what I want to see from him. But we will wrap up with, I'm happy with the starting lineup today. Yep. So much that I was expecting a loss, would have been happy with a draw and ended up actually being gutted that we lost because we didn't deserve that. But it is positives to build on. I will judge Tony Pulis after we have played 3 teams that are struggling in this league and see if he does any better than Monk did when we played 3 teams that are struggling in this league. Okay,
coming up is huge.
It is. It's absolutely massive. So we will be here to talk to you about this week, and it will probably be the last run of games we do before Christmas. So if we crap the bed over Christmas, we ain't going to be here. But we definitely will be. Yeah, exactly. So we will be definitely. We'll be definitely having a clearer view on what Pulis is going to be doing in the run up to that Christmas period, guys. But thank you very much, Punk, for joining today. If you've not already subscribed to his channel, his link will be in the description later on. I'm Dexterity Box. You know my content if you're around here. If you are new here, subscribe. But for now, guys, as always, like, subscribe, do all those things, and keep watching right here on Dexterity Box.